Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Price of BTC currently at 8,085. Let's get to the analysis. On the 30-minute chart, we had a nice scalp up in this area for a long yesterday, and I was really looking for BTC to push up just a little bit more up here for a really great shorting opportunity. But this was also technically a good short opportunity, and I unfortunately missed it because I was really looking for, Bitcoin to sort of hit the 200 moving average on the daily. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But for now, anyway, once price hit this area, it basically double topped right here, as you can see, first top, and here's that second top. And that actually got validated by this first low being taken out. Okay, so about 8,150 or so. Once that got broken right here, that's the double top validation. So this could go down a little bit more, but the higher time frames kind of tell a different story. Okay, but I do want to dial back just a little bit and zoom out, and I want to show you guys exactly how price moves as per trend lines and different resistance lines. Okay, so here's something interesting. Okay, so when we had this pennant right here, right, kind of like this, okay, it was touching this top and this wick top, right? And if I stretch this out over here, right there, you can see that it's still hitting that wick, and now it's hitting this wick too. So basically, all we did was still maintain these lower highs from this trend line right here. So there's that trend line, and then there's that lower high right there. So the bears are doing a really good job at holding the price action in this downtrend. Okay, you may get a little pop here and there like this, but for the most part, they're doing their job of holding this trend line intact. Okay, now what I foresee is on the higher time frames, and if we look at the 30-minute chart, you can see that the RSI is now broken on its trend line, right? This was the trend line that I was watching for the RSI. That's been broken. And for the most part, I mean, this support right here is about to crack. So it'll probably go down here. This is the bigger support way down here where price actually popped, as you can see, right? So you could make the argument that price will probably go down all the way wherever this RSI dipped down to, or maybe even a little bit lower. Okay, and the 4-hour marker actually, the 4-hour time frame actually gives us a good idea of exactly where it could drop to or bounce from. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, I had these two markers right here, 81.31, right? You can see that I stated if there's a 4-hour close above here, we'll probably go up to 84 something. We made it all the way to about $8,300. So I missed that mark by $100, but I should have recognized that there's this base that was formed here. And more than likely, we'd probably get rejected by this same base right here, okay, which is exactly what we did. I was under the impression that we could push up a little bit higher up here due to a short squeeze, but it looks like the bulls don't have enough firepower to, short squeeze the shorts, okay, all the way up here. But they did get a decent amount of short squeeze in this gap right here, right? So if you were shorting in here, typically you would have placed your short stop somewhere up here, which definitely got destroyed by this squeeze right here. And we know this is a squeeze because more than likely what's going to happen is going to go up like this and then pull back down and retrace the entire way back into this block right here that you see, this particular block, okay? Another good way to sort of recognize short squeezes is when you see a defined range that price is sort of moving into, you got to think of, what are the ways where price could sort of inflict pain on either the longs or the shorts, okay? So now we can make the argument that there's probably some longs trapped up here, okay? So now if price pushes back in the same range, it'll still trap these longs, and if it pushes a little bit lower, it will further trap the longs and maybe, force them to basically quit and sell their longs below here, okay? Because more than likely, people are looking at the same levels that you and I are, especially, algorithms too, or professionals, right? So more than likely, If we have this 4-hour candle close that has 2 hour and 50 minutes, if we close below this marker right here, which is 8,131, we have a higher chance of going down here, which is about 79.21. But if we bounce off this right here, okay, then we can again go back up a little bit higher, again to that 8,400 marker, like I said. We have yet to close a 4-hour candle under this area right here, which is the 8,131. So for now, the best bet is to wait for this candle closing, and you can either go long or short. But based on the smaller time frames, I mean, you can definitely go short, right? Because you had the double top, you hit this trend line, so more than likely you'll probably come down in this range at the very least, which is, you know, $8,015, $8,020, and maybe a little bit lower, maybe, you know, 79, 79.50, 79.75. Okay, so different time frames give us different, you know, confirmation and signals. All right, so you know what to look for on the 4-hour. The 4-hour downtrend has been broken too, so this is a positive sign on the RSI, as you can see. So we could potentially keep on moving, but now we want to, you know, draw this trend line too. So we'll draw it like this. Okay, so you could see that price is actually coming back to this particular trend line, and you can even make an argument like this one right here, where you can say this is another trend line right here. Okay, so a couple different trend lines that are, you know, at play right now. If it breaks this one, you know, it may bounce off this descending one that you see down here and pop up a little bit higher, but then if it breaks this one, it'll probably go down to this one at some point. Okay, that's just really how, you know, trend lines work. Is, you know, once a fan trend line breaks, it's usually the next one that'll catch it as support. All right, so let's look at the higher time frames and see what we're seeing. So yesterday, you know, and for the last couple of days, obviously, I've been talking about this critical moving average, the 200 moving average, and the S2 right here. I'm sorry, the S1. The reason I was looking for shorts, if you look in my Bitcoin analysis right here, you know, I was looking for shorts somewhere between 82.50 and 83.50. I didn't fill up right here at over here at 82.75 because I thought we'd pop up a little bit higher, hopefully get a confirmation rejection of the 200 moving average, and then I could ride the short down. So I got a little greedy of catching the ideal, you know, position, but the thought process was right, which is what matters. Okay, so on the daily chart, what we see is the 200 moving average that's crossing, you know, just above currently right now $83.85, maybe $8,400. Okay, price is sort of yet to hit that as resistance, kind of like right here, and then pull back down. Okay, that would be the most fantastic sort of short, you know, entry. All right, especially if we hit the S1 on a wick too, you know, because that would stop out a lot of late shorts, get a lot of people to FOMO, you know, because people think that we're going to go up above the 200 moving average, but really what we're going to do is, you know, pull back up just a little bit, wick it, right, and then pull back down. So that's kind of what I'm, you know, aiming for right now. I mean, obviously on the RSI, we still have sort of a huge downtrend that we're in on the daily chart, as you can see, kind of like that. The RSI is still not in critical levels down here. We've seen, you know, sort of worse levels in the RSI back here in December. Went down all the way to about 8 points. Currently, we're at 22. You know, so we have a good amount of room to potentially fall. So that's what I'm saying. You know, you might want to be careful right here on the daily RSI. Okay, or the daily chart. Okay. On the weekly chart, let's see, I drew out these levels for y'all and stated that, you know, this is really what I'm watching right now, okay, especially on the weekly chart. I'm going to pull this away. You could see that currently the price is doing its best to hold above this pivot and pull back above this, you know, 50 Fibonacci retracement from this bottom to this top, all right? But we haven't quite done that yet. And so to go for long positions, I would at least want price to sort of, at the very least, I don't know, I would want price to cross at least like this high right here, you know, so that's around $8,600. I mean, you could take some scalps here, but it's probably not a good idea because, like I said, we still have this, you know, downtrend intact in terms of this trend line. So it's really not looking too hot for the bulls just yet. But keep watching this trend line and draw it on your own chart and see if it works out, right? But on the weekly chart, you could see that, you know, the bulls need to make a statement by saying that, you know, hey, we've absorbed all the supply right here, and now we're going to drive this thing up. So the way you make that statement is, you know, either push this candle up even higher as the week closes to an end, which is tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or close it down here, but the following week needs to have, you know, needs to have a really like aggressive bullish push, which it's going to be really hard to do because, you know, one of the critical moving averages, which is the EMA 30, you know, this candle right here is already sort of broken under that. So it needs to sort of close above almost $8,650, $8,700 to give, you know, the bulls a confirmation that even as per the weekly chart, looks like the bulls are really trying to, you know, force price back up. But if they're not, the daily and the weekly and the 4-hour are already telling you that this is a market that you want to short, not long. Okay. So we'll see exactly what happens by tomorrow's end. All right. I wanted to talk about SFPs. Okay, so I mentioned SFPs yesterday, and I wanted to sort of explain that again, exactly what it means. Okay, so if we look at this chart right here, okay, the SFP stands for a swing failure pattern. Okay, so basically what it means is when you're looking for a critical level, right, and depending on what time frame you're looking at, you could see right here, this is the daily chart where we had, you know, this low put in and this higher low, right? I remember a couple days back or maybe a week or two ago when we had this, you know, 6 straight days of bleeding, right? We had this deep push down, and by the end of the day, the candle looked like it was going to close down here, but it actually closed up here. So this candle right here is an SFP because it's a swing failure pattern as per this higher low. So this is the low, this is the higher low. So this candle, all it needed to do was close above this marker right here where this candle opened. That would create the SFP. But if it closed lower, then that means this is a confirmed, this candle would be a confirmed break of this low. That means we'd be going down, you know, faster, okay? But this was really, you know, sort of a fake out SFP, right? Because all we did was we closed this candle above, we had 1 day of survival, and then the next day we just closed it under this one, as you can see. So all this candle did was give the bulls just 1 extra day of breathing. But then the following day we sold off, and just sold off completely, right? So if we look on the smaller time frames, here's where we are as per the SFP that we may be looking for right now, okay? So let me take this moving average away. So here's that 4-hour chart, okay? So the SFP in this case would be that this candle, though it looks bad right now, right? This is, if you look at this candle right now, you would short it, right? But it's not closed yet. It has 2 hours and 40 minutes to go. If this candle closes above this high right here, which is 8,131, that means we could potentially bounce from here like that. But remember that that's not even confirmed until the follow-up candle is a bullish candle, right? Or it looks bullish. But you can also, technically, you can take a wiser decision of going long if this candle right here closes above 8,131 and, you know, hope that the next candle prints bullish, right? Or if it closes below, as is, then this is a good opportunity to go short, right? Because you've basically broken this swing right here again. Because it was important for this 4-hour candle to close above, which it did, right? So as you can see, you know, this candle and this candle right here printed higher, right? So this is not an SFP. This was a clear break of this level right here of 8,131, okay? So I hope those SFPs make sense. Let me go to Matic. I know one of our members wanted me to check on that. Here's Matic. Let's see how Matic is doing. Matic looks like, okay, so it's in a nice sort of sideways. It looks like this is maybe reaccumulation before another push up, but I think the level you want to be watching is, you know, at least this one right here on a daily close. You could see that price is actually trying to break past this level, but it's not able to. But I think on a third try, you know, what it's really doing actually is something like this. This is kind of interesting. It's really stuck in the sideways range. Every time it tries to force itself up past this level, it gets rejected. But every time it forces itself down this level, it gets held up. So that's a good sort of, you know, opportunity right there too. But I would say this, you know, this sideways range doesn't really give you an indication that either level is going to break, you know, one or the other until it's actually broken. But if it does break, you know, your target then becomes at least this right there, which is 166. So even if you waited for a sort of confirmed break on a daily from here, I mean, that's a nice 15-16% move. But the thing is, if you know, get into this move right here, right? Like you saw that this was breaking and you got in right here at the top because you didn't wait for a candle to close on a daily. You just got trapped, you know? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 days you probably would have sold for sure. Most people don't even have the patience for something like that, especially in the crypto markets. So in 4 days, you definitely would have sold and then the price would have bounced back up. So you got to wait for either this thing to break up or this thing to break down. If it breaks down, you could catch a decent opportunity right here too at 102. All right, actually, it's probably a little bit higher, 103. Okay, the RSI, it's doing the same thing, so really nothing in the RSI. I mean, I think you want to wait for a break of the RSI above this level, which is just about 57 points. Let's see how the volume looks. I mean, I think most alts are just not looking good right now. Let's see. You know, yeah, I mean, the highest volume in Matic was really on this big swing. And then after that, the you know, market makers and the volume makers really just walked away, let this thing just bleed out from May all the way down to about August, you know. So that's why it sucks like chasing these, because you never know where the top is, right? And that's kind of the tough part about this. That's why you got to wait for confirmed breakouts, you know, especially on ranges like this, and trade from level to level. Or, you know, once this breaks, watch out for this one and buy this and sell up here, right? So you got to trade level from level to level unless you want to get trapped, okay? So spoke about Matic, spoke about SFPs. Let's check out Ethereum real quick. Ether bounced back to 150 like I'd stated. You know, this red marker that you're seeing is a very sort of critical marker that price needs to stay above, especially on, you know, daily time frames or even weekly. If it breaks, you know, Ether is going to have a pretty epic collapse. Like 150 is the line in the sand for Ether. You know, if it does break, I mean, there's really nothing else until down here, which is $105, $110. So do be careful on Ether. I just think that there's, you know, I want to say that Bitcoin has the ability to sort of climb up from here, and I think it can. But the thing is, you know, there's really like nothing you want to touch in terms of true, you know, sort of a bullish turnaround. Like no real trader would want to touch this thing until it climbs back into this triangle. Like I'm talking about all the way up here, you know, $95, $9,600, all the way up into it on a nice daily 3-day close. Because right now you're just basically gambling, right? Because you're under the 200 moving average. You're in a big sell-off mode right now. So you need to see how this particular zone right here from, you know, May through June held up. If it does hold up, it should propel us even higher. But if it doesn't, that means everything that gets us up here is an opportunity to sell, okay? And to be honest, if it does get up here, like say 9,000 or something, and it gets rejected, you better pray that, the 7,000 level holds, or else we're going to go down to 6 and lower, So we'll see. I don't want to speculate on that just yet, but like I said, we'll take prices, one day at a time. For now, I'm just kind of patiently waiting for good entries. I really didn't like the short entry I was in while this was about to break out, because I didn't want to be trapped in a position for God knows how long, while my short was just bleeding. So I got out at a less than a 1% loss, and that is totally fine with me, And I actually did cover that loss basically with a quick scalp in here, so that was kind of nice. So really, guys, waiting for ideal entries sometimes takes a while, right? Sometimes it takes, hours and days to hunt for really good entries, wait for the market to sort of give you that perfect signal, and then it takes 5 seconds to execute on that. And sometimes you make, all that time spent on just charting and technicals, you make all that money back in less than a couple hours when you get a perfect ideal entry. And so that's the thing. Sometimes it just requires patience for you to understand that, the markets don't need to be traded all 24 hours of the day just because they're open 24 hours of the day. And day trading also doesn't mean that you need to actually day trade every single day. You got to wait for good patient opportunities that give you good entries, good solid, risk to reward ratios, and trade it. Yeah. So I think that should help. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think one of our members asked, do you see any long scalp opportunities on BTC? Well, hopefully he'll see my analysis, right? Like I said, if you climb up above this trend line, that's a long opportunity. If you climb and close above this marker right here, that's a potential long opportunity. And I would chase, a long from here at the very least to 82.50, or up here, which is around $8,400. Okay, which is basically, where that 200 moving average is anyway. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Thank you so much. Have a great Saturday.